Good evening. The date is July 14, 1945. Germany has surrendered and war in Europe has come to an end. Hitler's Nazis have been vanquished and American soldiers are returning home. Families and friends everywhere from California, Iowa to New York are welcoming back their men and women after 3 long years of furious war. In a cottage on the quiet shores of Walloon Lake, Michigan, await Mariam, the young wife of First Lieutenant Morgan Jablonski, who was listed missing in action after the invasion of Normandy on June 6, 1944. This is her story and revelation that soon comes to her door.
Since we were talking about famous people, did I ever mention the time I saw Houdini? Now this should be interesting. Go on, this should be fun, Mabel. Must we? Mabel? Mabel, you're not going to say he shackled you in a wooden box and dumped you in the river, are you? Oh my God, were you there? Mabel, you've got to be joking. Yes, I am. But I did see him on October 24th, 1926. Where at? The Carrot Theater in Detroit. Mariam and Richard enter the dining room. I know what you're going to say, Mabel, and I forbid you from mentioning it. Harriet, you're not serious, are you? Nevermore. Harriet, what's the matter? It's all in good fun, not in my home.
Not saying anything she shouldn't.
Not another word, Mariam. Excuse me, but we're not children to be silenced. Let me intervene for a moment. What are you afraid of her saying, Harriet? She knows. Ask her. What is she concerned about, Mabel? I haven't the slightest idea. Please, I need someone's help here. Harriet, Sebastian, it was Houdini's last performance. That's all, Richard? He ruptured his appendix and died 5 days later in the hospital. That's enough, Richard. There will be no talking of death in this house. It's all right, Harriet. Let's talk about it, shall we? There will only be happy thoughts. Do you hear me? There's no place for death here. Yes, Harriet. We hear you, Harriet. We'll change the subject, all right? Harriet looks at Richard. I'm sorry, Morgan. I really am. She rushes off the stage. Please, excuse me. Sebastian follows her. What was that all about?
My husband.
Has she done this before?
Since Morgan's missing, she hasn't been the same.
When did he disappear?
After D-Day landing in Normandy, Richard.
You were there, weren't you, Richard? Yes. This may sound morbid, but were you wounded there?
Mabel, I don't think that's necessary.
I'm just curious. I've never met anyone who was.
I apologize, Richard. I'm sure you don't like being reminded.
No, it's all right. It's my left leg. We flew into Normandy in a flimsy wooden glider. It was a ride into hell, actually. Once we touched down, me and the boys patrolled a farmhouse on a long, narrow road. The stench of dead cattle was everywhere. We drew fire from a machine gun in an upper window, and it sounds. The shooting is a sharp blade of fear through your bones and squeezes the air from your lungs. We were pinned behind a short stone hedge. One of the boys got spooked, jumped up and ran in a patch of trees, but took a sharp burst in his back. Watching him fall, I lost my mind and I crawled on my belly to his side. And I wasn't sure if he was dead or not, but I got on one knee and threw him over my shoulder and started back to the others. And I didn't know what hit me. Suddenly I was spinning in the air and well, the next thing I saw were two beautiful eyes staring down at me. It was a young nurse in a hospital. They said I was lucky to be alive after stepping on a landmine. Richard sees Sebastian coming into the room. Is Mrs. Jablonski all right, Sebastian? Yes, she's off to bed. The poor thing's completely exhausted. I'm afraid the evening festivities caught up with her, but she's got a strong heart and an iron will to match. No offense to you, Richard, but you reminded her of her son.
I should straighten things up.
What a shame it had to end this way. We were all having so much fun. Mariam and Mabel cleared the table. Just as well. We have work in the morning, don't we, Richard? Yes, sir. I thought we could start on the roof after picking up supplies.
The roof?
Yes. Didn't Harriet tell you? Richard's sticking around another day to patch the roof.
Oh, that's good to hear.
I'm happy to be of help.
But what of your father? Isn't he expecting you?
He's waited 3 long years, so another day or so won't hurt. We'll be off then, Richard. It was a lovely evening, Mariam. Please let Harriet know we enjoyed ourselves.
Yes, of course, Sebastian.
Ready, Richard? Yes, sir. Good night, Mabel. Your stories always bring a smile. Perhaps we'll see you in church this Sunday. Sebastian, miracles still exist, don't they? They most certainly do. Good night. It was very nice meeting you, Richard. Mabel shakes Richard's hand. Thank you. Good night. Richard reaches for Marian's hand. See you in the morning. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Yes, in the morning. Good night, Richard.
Yes. Good night. Sebastian and Richard exit upstage the kitchen. Marian and Mabel clear the dining room table. It's been a pleasure meeting you, eh?
Oh, please don't say another word. What do you expect from a soldier on leave?
Oh, I saw the way he was looking at
You're
you.
imagining things. Besides, he'll be gone soon. Let me get your dresses.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. Now I won't have to hear Mrs. Pennington complaining.
Mabel, do you like the trim?
Lovely. A nice, tidy job, Marian. I can always rely on you.
Thank you, Mabel.
Listen, before I leave, I want you to know my offer still stands. If for any reason you can't continue living with Harriet, you know you have a place with me.
I really appreciate that, Mabel, but things will work out.
I worry about you. I really do. Especially after this evening. She's not right in the head. Is she so far gone she can't tell Richard from her own son?
Well, she's under a lot of stress.
That may be, but there's no excuse for her taking it out on you the way she does.
Since Morgan left, she hasn't been quite right. I noticed a change in her after their falling out.
What happened?
I was in the house at the time. It was early morning. I noticed Harriet sitting at the dining room table. I sensed there was something wrong, so I kept out of sight from behind the kitchen doorway.
The lights slowly fade as Mariam crosses to the kitchen doorway.